So much for joining us tonight. So happy to talk with you. My name is Jelaine. I'm the student recruiter for the US. And some of you may know this, but I was actually a former student from Minnesota myself. So I graduated a few years ago now, but I had a super awesome experience at the U of M, and I actually decided to stay and make it my home. So I'm always happy to share everything with you, and I hope this session prepares you to get everything started and ready to go so that you're all prepared for the fall. I'll just mention one more time that this session is aimed at students from the US and specifically Minnesota. So if you're joining us internationally or locally, you may want to sign off and join us next time instead. But we do have actually over 140 students from Minnesota here at the University of Manitoba. So we're super happy to have so many students from there, and you'll definitely be in good company when you're at the U of M. And congratulations to all of you that have graduated already, and those of you who have yet to graduate. That's really exciting, and I hope you're looking forward to that. So first off, I do just want to address this information. Many of you probably already know this, but the University of Manitoba has approved a plan to deliver all possible courses for our fall term, so September through December, online by remote learning with very few exceptions. But rest assured, we'll be here to provide you with the prep that you need to be successful in remote learning. We commit to a safe return to campus when the time is right. And once those details become available to us, we'll be sure to inform you right away of how we plan to support you as you prepare to start your university education. All right, so we're going to be talking about a few things today. So everything that we're going to be going over is going to get you all set up to start your studies in September. So first off, we'll talk about document submission. So how to check if you have any outstanding documents, what to do with your AP or IB results, PSEO transcripts, things like that. Then we'll get into some international student info, because even though you may be only from a few hours drive away, you are an international student at the U of M. So we'll give you that information that you need. And then lastly, probably one of the most common questions that I get is about the reciprocity form. So how do you have access to that super affordable reciprocity tuition rate? And what do you need to do with FAFSA in the coming months? So first off, we'll talk about documents. So this is in regards to your admission, and it is really important that you get all of your required documents into us. The best way to do this and check which documents you need, if we've received them all, if you're still missing any, is to log into your application portal. So I know most of you have probably done that already, but you may want to just give that a look and see if we've received all of your documents. So your application portal will go over all the information you need. So that will say your transcript requirements, whether we have received those or not, and the details on how to send them. And your application portal is also where you'll find your letter of acceptance and your standardized letter of acceptance, which is used for the study permit application. Just one note on document submission. If you've recently sent a document, just allow about 10 business days for us to mark it as received in your portal. And then many of you have taken AP or IB classes, which is super great. I know I did AP myself. And we definitely do give transfer credit for most AP classes and IB classes with scores of 4 or higher. And that process for us is actually going to look the same as usual this year, even though your exam schedule might be looking a little bit different in the format than it usually is in a typical year. So even though your exam may be different, we are still giving that transfer credit. So there's 2 things you'll have to do. First thing is to release the results to us after you do your exams. And the second is after you release those results, please fill out our request for university credit form. You can find that on the website on the screen there. So you may want to take a picture, and we'll send this link to you in an email after the session as well. But claiming your AP or IB credit is optional. So some students choose to transfer all of the eligible credit. Some transfer just a few courses here and there, and some students choose to transfer none of it. So that's going to be up to you. And on that next steps link, you can also find what each class will transfer in as at the U of M. And now we'll go over dual credit classes. So I know some of you are taking PSEO classes or CIS, College in the Schools, or maybe you're doing another way of getting university credit in high school. One very important thing that we need you to do is send the transcripts from the institutions that you've done those classes with. So we do need the final official transcripts sent directly from the issuing institution. And you can find all the details of this again in your document listing in your application portal. We also will want to see the course outlines for most of you. So that's just the syllabus for each class that you've taken. So if you want to track down those syllabi right now, that's something you can start doing to make sure that you have those ready to go when we request them. And the sooner you send those in, the faster that transfer credit process will go. Usually you can request those from the department at the institution you did those classes with, or from their transcript office. And we do assess those PSEO and CIS courses for transfer credit, so meaning that you could get U of M credit for those classes, but they're not guaranteed to transfer. So we do go through an evaluations process using those course outlines and transcripts that you send. But one thing that you can also do right now is check out our database of transfer credit that we've taken in the past. So this is super helpful because it's a searchable database, so you can put in the United States and then Minnesota and find the institution you went to. And we'll have the listing of all of the classes we've previously taken from that school and what the credit transferred in as. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of students from Minnesota who've done dual credit. So you may find a class that you took on there. That way you'll get a heads up of whether we may give you the credit for it. If you don't see a class, it just means we'll go through that process a little bit later. Okay, we'll talk about some international student information. So you will be considered an international student at the U of M in terms of student supports and all of the important things that you need to do to prepare to come to Canada to study. So first off is the study permit. So I do just want to say that we are limited as the university on what we can talk about with the study permit. We aren't able to give advice to students on applying for a study permit or the requirements due to government restrictions. But we can say that you will need a study permit to cross the border to study in Canada. What I would recommend is going to the government website to check out all of the details about how to apply for the study permit. You can find the online application there, and you can also find their COVID updates on travel restrictions, which are currently in place, and frequently asked questions. And that website is pretty easy to remember. It's canada.ca. So I would definitely recommend going there and reviewing all that information. And the U Manitoba will continue to post our COVID related updates on our website. You can just find it from our homepage at umanitoba.ca. And we'll talk a bit about health insurance info. So as an international student, all international students are actually required to be part of our Manitoba International Student Health Plan. So that's going to cover your basic health insurance in Canada. So things like your doctor's visits or medical procedures, and participating in that health plan is mandatory, and there's a fee associated with that. So you can find out all the details on that coverage at the website on the screen there, mishp.ca. And then we also have a supplementary health plan as well that covers things beyond just basic medical care. This one is not really mandatory. You may be able to opt out of it with proof that your current health plan is eligible. So you do need to show us that your current plan works for you in Canada and works with our healthcare system. So you can find that information on our student union page, umsu.ca. And if you do choose to opt out, just make sure to review that process and the deadlines to do that on that website. And further details will be shared soon about the health coverage and health insurance for the fall. All right, and then we'll talk about housing. So even though our campus is going to be looking a bit different in the fall with classes being remotely, the student residences will be open and operational for the whole academic year starting in September with limited capacity. So it will look a little bit different. We'll be sending you some details about that if you've already applied for the dorms. We'll send those in the next couple of weeks before the end of the month. So do check your email. That's the best place where you can find that. We'll tell you how the room selection process will look like. We'll talk about the time slots to select your room and some further details on the dorms. You can also check out their updates on anything to do with housing, whether it's a virtual tour of the different rooms for you to check out, if you're interested in seeing what they look like, or their COVID updates. You can find that all on their website at umanitoba.ca/housing. And just note that you will still want to check the government website on the travel restriction details before you go ahead with choosing your room. Okay, so we'll talk about the most popular topic, funding and reciprocity process. So I'm sure one of the many reasons why you've all chosen to come to study at the University of Manitoba is that really great reciprocity tuition agreement that the state of Minnesota has with the province of Manitoba. So that is a fantastic opportunity, and it actually gives you the access to Canadian tuition fees if you qualify. So before we go over that, I do just want to talk about some information in regards to US student loans. So we actually do take those at the University of Manitoba. So please, if you are looking for direct loan funding, go through that process. So it is kind of a multi-step process. So you may want to take a picture of this or head to our website, which I'll share with you in an email after the session today. But the first step is to fill out that FAFSA application on the FAFSA website. So that's step number one. Second step is to sign a master promissory note. Third is to complete our university's direct loan funding application. And then lastly, before you come to study with us, you do need to complete some mandatory entrance counseling with FAFSA. So there's a really important deadline coming up if you do plan on using student loans. And that's the deadline to submit the U of M, so our direct loan funding application. You do have to fill that out and submit it to us at our Financial Aid and Awards Office by July 17th. So that deadline is coming up fairly soon, so you may want to start looking into that right now. And you can find it at the Financial Aid and Awards website on the screen here, and I'll share a more specific link afterwards by email as well. But don't let that slip you by. And then also just something to note, if this is your first time using a student loan, receiving one, you have to attend school for 30 days before FAFSA can release your funding to us. So that's just one thing to note. So just be sure to check that against our tuition fee deadlines and have any arrangements in place to make sure that you're still meeting that deadline to pay your tuition. All right, we'll go over that reciprocity process. So you do have to apply for Minnesota reciprocity and show some documentation to prove that you're a resident of Minnesota. I don't want you to send this form quite yet, so the ideal time for you to send it is going to be in August. And that's going to be after you've signed up for all of your courses, which happens in July, but before tuition is due in the fall. That way we can make sure to have this all processed by the time tuition is due so that you have the lower tuition fee. So this form, you can actually download it online, fill it out and send it to us by email. So it's processed through our registrar's office. You can find it on their website. And even though you can't submit that form yet, you can take a look at it. And I actually would recommend it so that you can start to get all of your supplemental documents together. So you'll need to show something like your tax return, copy of your driver's license, or perhaps some other documents. So take a look at that now, get all organized, and then submit it in August. And one note, you do need to resubmit that form annually, so just don't forget about that every year as you continue with your studies with us. All right, so what's next over the next couple of months? So this is just one of many of the online sessions we'll be doing to help you get prepared to start your studies in the fall. And we actually have some really great sessions coming up in partnership with our first year center, their student advisors, that will talk about how to plan your first year. So we'll be going over things like timetabling and planning your first year schedule for your classes, and how to choose which courses and how to know which classes you should take for each program. So those are called our Get Ready to Register sessions, and it would be awesome if you could all attend those to make sure that you're taking the right courses you need and familiar with that process. So those are happening kind of week by week over the next few weeks here. This week, we actually do have some career-focused sessions put on by our Career Services office. So you can actually head to that website right now after the session if you'd like, at umanitoba.ca/nextsteps to register for one of those. And then the next couple weeks after, you can also find the schedule online for those registration sessions to get you all prepared to register. And if you have any questions in the future, just reach out to us at any point throughout the summer, and we're happy to help you out. Bit of a timeline of what your summer will look like. I know most of you have already done this already, which is really great, but if you haven't accepted your admission offer yet, you will want to do that very soon. So accepting your admission offer is done through your online portal, and it just lets us know that you'll be joining us at the U of M. And that's what we need to get the process started to create all of your student accounts. And after you've accepted your offer, one thing that you may be able to do right now is claim your UM Net ID. So that's basically going to give you access to those student accounts. It's going to become your My Manitoba student email, which you'll use throughout the year and throughout your whole degree actually to talk with your professors and to get all of that orientation info. And then you can review the first year planning information right now. So the best thing you can do is to start by attending those online sessions that we'll be hosting this month. That will get you started on how the registration process will work, what types of first year classes to choose. But you can also take a look at some of our online resources on our first year website. So that's on the screen there. It's umanitoba.ca/firstyear. But that's a really awesome website that's going to give you all the information on how to prepare your schedule for the first year and how to see which courses you should take. And I want to point out the first year planning guide on that website. So that's an online booklet that you can read front to back that will tell you everything you need to know about planning for your first year. So it will go over how many classes to take, your scheduling. It will have registration tutorial videos to prep you and everything like that. And it will also include some suggested first year courses for different programs. So maybe you applied to business and you're not sure what types of classes you'll be taking in your first year. You can find all that info in the first year planning guide. And then in July, you'll be registering for your fall and winter term classes. So don't forget to sign up for both terms. And then also in July, you'll be sending that direct loan funding application by the 17th. So don't forget to do that if you're getting FAFSA. In August, you'll complete some online orientation programming called UM Essentials, and that info will be sent through your student email. You'll also want to make sure you submit your reciprocity form to us in August. And that's when your tuition fee invoice will be posted in your Aurora student account. And then in September, your classes will begin and you'll be an official U of M student. And that's also when the tuition fees are due. All right, I know that was a lot of information to take in. I'll send a follow-up email with all of those links if you didn't get a chance to write them all down. And we'll have a recording of this session posted online as well if you ever want to reference it later. But does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? Feel free to either chat with us or you can unmute yourself and just ask them directly to me as well.
I have a question about the housing and dorm. I have a ESA or emotional support animal. I was wondering how I would put that in the dorm with me and have it with me? Is that even possible in Canada?
Gotcha. That's a good question. I would actually recommend contacting the housing office and reaching out to them to ask that question. I know they are available by phone right now, so if you want to just give them a call and talk over the phone, that's probably the best option. I'm going to put their phone number in the chat there. Oh yeah, I see the link is in the chat. So umanitoba.ca/housing. Can find their contact info there. So you can contact them by email or by phone if you want to hear back right away. But they'll definitely be able to tell you that. Someone wants to know if they sent the reciprocity form in March, do they have to resend it? You likely do have to resend it. Feel free to email the registrar's office to ask about that if you've already sent your form. I'll put that back on the screen here. Hope you guys can all see that, umanitoba.ca/registrar. Their email address is registrar.office@umanitoba.ca. I'll also put it in the chat so that you guys can just copy paste. They'll definitely be able to tell you that. All right, someone wants to know, if you own a car, is there long-term parking for on-campus students? Yes, definitely. So housing, so the dorms, they actually have residence parking lots specifically for students who live in the dorms. But you can find all that info on the parking website that was just put in the chat there. And feel free to contact them if you have any questions about parking, when to sign up for that, how to sign up for that. The parking office processes all of those, so they'd be happy to help you out. And then I'm just going to address one common question that I know I get often, is just wondering the details about University One. So I took a look and I saw that some of you are going into University One or U1, which is really great. I did that program myself. And U1 is our most popular program for students coming into the U of M. And basically what it is it's a general first year program that's really flexible. So it's going to give you pretty much a blank slate to pick whatever classes you'd like. So some students use that to prepare for a really specific program that they might want to take later on. But a lot of students actually use U1 to mix and match courses from different areas. So that may be what you want to do. So over the next couple of weeks, few weeks, when you're thinking about which courses to take, just know that if you're a U1 student, you can pick and choose from different programs. So that's what I did. When I was in my first year in U1, I was kind of torn over what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to study business or maybe politics or maybe something else. I just was pretty undecided. So I did U1 and I was so happy I did that because it turns out business wasn't for me. I didn't really fit with the courses I took in business, but I really liked my politics classes. So that's how I found out about my major. So definitely use that time to explore, and you can check out some info about U1 on that website that we sent in the chat. Is there a list of classes that you can preview before registration? I don't believe we've posted that quite yet. I would recommend staying tuned and attending one of those online sessions that the First Year Center will be putting on. They'll be giving you all that information about when the classes are available to view. I'm just going to put the link up here to register for those sessions. All right, so you can go to that link on the chat there to register for the first year sessions. But you can also check out the first year website for some more details about that. And the registration process, that process is going to be online in the end of July. So definitely a good idea to go to those online sessions. And, you know, if you take a look at the schedule and you're not able to make it to the online sessions, we'll be recording those and posting them on that website as well. So you can always watch the recordings later. And definitely check out that first year planning guide. So that's that online booklet I talked about. I'm going to put it back on the screen here. right there. Super helpful. So that's going to be your guide to registration and actually to preparing for your whole first year. So that's where you can find out how to look up courses, how to look up your schedule and everything like that. Good question. Someone wants to know about how the dorms will look like for the spring, whether they can maybe defer their application into the spring or winter. Stay tuned for some information from housing. We're still working through what that is going to look like right now. So stay tuned to your email. If you've applied for the dorms, we'll be updating you within the next couple of weeks. So you'll hear from the housing office with some info about that process. If you do have any specific questions, feel free to contact the dorms a couple weeks from now once they've kind of worked that out. Does anyone have any further questions? I'm going to put my email on the screen. So if you do have a question, feel free to send me an email. And if I'm not the right person, I can always forward it along to someone else as well. So contact me with questions about anything. Hope you guys are getting excited to graduate. I know graduation is looking a little bit different this year, but still super exciting. And that's really great that you guys have made it this far, even kind of in this situation. Someone wants to know about choosing your dorm mates. So the housing process or the housing living situation, I suppose, is going to look different this year because of COVID. So there may not be dorm mates. So stay tuned again for info from housing. They're working through the details right now, but they'll certainly let you know about what that will look like. So stay tuned. All right, so I think that we'll probably wrap up the session for today if there's no more questions, but contact us anytime. So if you think of a question today or another time, definitely just feel free to reach out. But I hope this has helped you guys prepare for everything you need to know in regards to being an international student coming to the U of M. I know we're looking forward to having you, and we're so excited to start our fall classes. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope to talk to you all again soon. Thank you.